Welcome to our deep dive into the world of nonprofits in 2025. We're focusing on those doing incredible work through child sponsorship programs. You're clearly tuned in to what's happening in this ever-evolving space, and we've got some fascinating insights to share with you. Pulled from nonprofit challenges in 2025 and other related materials,
Yeah.
we're covering everything from donor retention and tech adoption to program management, all crucial aspects for nonprofits in this day and age.
It is fascinating how the materials paint a picture of the changing landscape for nonprofits, and I think you'll agree that the need for adaptation and innovation is more critical now than ever before.
Absolutely. And there are some really thought-provoking stats and real-world examples in these sources. One that immediately caught my attention was the donor retention dilemma. We're
Hmm.
seeing average donor retention rates hovering around 50%, which is pretty concerning.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine a business losing half its customers every year. It wouldn't be sustainable. Nonprofits face a similar challenge. And what's driving this churn? The sources suggest a lack of personalization. Unclear impact reporting and infrequent communication are major factors. Donors today want to feel valued, see how their contributions make a difference, and stay connected with the causes they support.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It highlights how important it is to cultivate those lasting relationships with donors. Speaking of which, there's an inspiring story about Ronald McDonald House Charities in Omaha. They actually managed to boost their donor retention rate to an impressive 44.3% by focusing on personal connections and adopting a new donor management system.
That's a fantastic illustration of how combining smart technology with a real emphasis on donor relationships can yield amazing results.
Hmm.
It's a shift from transactional interactions to a more collaborative partnership.
I'm curious, how can nonprofits move beyond those generic approaches to donor engagement?
It's about personalization, tailoring thank you messages, segmenting communications based on giving levels, and offering a range of giving options to suit different preferences. Basically, moving away from the one-size-fits-all approach and making donors feel seen and valued.
And that leads perfectly into the next topic that really stood out to me. The idea of technology as a lifeline for nonprofits, especially as we look ahead to 2025 and beyond. The materials emphasize that technology is no longer optional. A striking 77% of charities recognize digital skills as essential for future success.
And this really points to the need for nonprofits to prioritize technology adoption.
Yeah.
That 77% statistic should serve as a wake-up call for organizations that might be lagging behind in this area.
Absolutely. And the materials actually highlight a specific tool, Help You Sponsor, that's making waves in the world of child sponsorship programs. The sources suggest it can automate a staggering 90% of tasks. I have to admit, I'm a little skeptical. Can it really live up to that claim?
What's important here isn't just the automation itself, but what that enables you to achieve. Think about all the administrative tasks that take up your time managing sponsor information processing payments, generating reports. With Help You Sponsor, those tasks are handled seamlessly, freeing you up to focus on building relationships with sponsors and ultimately delivering a greater impact for the children you serve.
So it's not about replacing human interaction with technology. It's about using technology to enhance and streamline those interactions.
Exactly. The sources specifically mention that Help You Sponsor makes it easier to onboard new sponsors and has built-in features for tracking sponsorships and creating impact reports. I imagine that would be incredibly valuable for anyone working in child sponsorship. They even included an endorsement from Katie McWilliams, a seasoned professional in the field who raves about how Help You Sponsor has helped her organization save time and money while keeping sponsors engaged and satisfied.
It certainly sounds promising. And for smaller nonprofits, especially, their pro plan at $39 a month for up to 80 commitments seems like a really reasonable price point. Larger organizations can opt for the $1.50 per commitment model. This flexibility in pricing is crucial because it ensures technology is accessible to organizations of all sizes, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And this brings up a common concern for many nonprofits: the cost of technology adoption. While the initial investment might seem daunting, the long-term efficiency gains, improved donor satisfaction, and potential for increased revenue can make it a worthwhile investment.
So it's really about shifting the mindset from seeing technology as an expense to seeing it as a strategic investment in the organization's future.
Precisely. And speaking of strategic investments, the materials highlight another area where technology is making a significant impact: data-driven decision-making.
Okay, I've heard that phrase tossed around a lot, but to be honest, I'm not always sure what it means in practice.
Data-driven decision-making means using the information you gather to make more informed and effective choices. For instance, instead of guessing which donors are most likely to contribute again, you can use data to pinpoint those who've consistently supported your cause in the past and tailor your appeals specifically to their interests. You can also identify donors who might be drifting away and proactively reach out to re-engage them.
That's a great example. It makes it much clearer how data can be used to improve donor retention. They also mentioned using data to personalize appeals and create compelling visuals that showcase an organization's impact.
That's right. Data can help you craft stories that resonate with donors, showing them the tangible impact their contributions are making. Instead of overwhelming them with dry statistics, you can use data to paint a vivid picture of the lives you're changing and the communities you're strengthening.
They even quoted Stephanie Willis, an expert in prospect development, who emphasized how data helps organizations prioritize potential donors and encourage recurring gifts. And they mentioned a tool called Giving DNA, which empowers nonprofits with data insights and actionable recommendations. It sounds like having a data analyst right there in your pocket.
These tools are making data analysis accessible to nonprofits of all sizes, which is a significant development. It levels the playing field and allows organizations to make data-driven decisions that lead to meaningful change.
So we've talked about technology and data, but let's shift gears for a moment and discuss funding models. It's clear from the materials that relying on a single source of funding is becoming increasingly risky in today's unpredictable world.
You're absolutely right. Diversification is key to building a sustainable funding model. The sources advocate for a balanced approach that combines grants, corporate partnerships, and individual donations. This multifaceted strategy helps nonprofits weather economic storms and avoid over-reliance on any single funding stream.
They highlighted a really interesting example of the Grand Canyon Conservancy. They're leveraging artificial intelligence and data analysis to make smarter decisions within their fundraising software. This has actually helped them streamline their major gift officer portfolios by over 30%. That's incredible.
It demonstrates how data-driven decision-making can be applied not only to donor engagement, but also to optimizing internal processes. By strategically allocating resources and streamlining operations, nonprofits can achieve greater efficiency and impact.
It all makes so much sense. So we've covered technology, data, and funding diversification. But I'm curious, with all this talk about data and technology, how do we ensure that the human element doesn't get lost in the equation? After all, donor relationships are built on genuine connections.
You're right. We can't forget that at the heart of every donation is a person with passions, values, and a desire to make a difference. The sources emphasize that cultivating those relationships should be at the forefront of every nonprofit strategy.
And there's a striking statistic that reinforces this point. 62% of consumers will abandon a brand that lacks personalized experiences, and nonprofits are no exception.
It speaks to a broader societal shift where people are craving authenticity and connection. In a world saturated with information and choices, nonprofits need to cut through the noise and engage donors on a deeper, more personal level.
And that leads us to the unique challenges faced by child sponsorship programs. They're the focus of this deep dive, and the source materials highlight some very specific concerns that are particularly relevant to this sector.
Yes, the sources highlight issues like program stability, transparency concerns, and efficiency hurdles that can be particularly challenging for child sponsorship programs.
For example, they discuss a case study about Divine Care Ministries, an organization that's been operating since the late 90s. They've encountered situations where children suddenly leave the program due to family relocations or other unforeseen circumstances.
These unforeseen events can make things incredibly difficult, both for the nonprofit and the sponsors who formed a bond with the child they're supporting.
It really brings home the complexity of running a child sponsorship program. How can nonprofits prepare for these unpredictable circumstances and maintain a sense of stability for both the children and the sponsors?
That's a great question and one we should explore further. The sources suggest data tools, robust donor management systems, and a commitment to transparent impact reporting as crucial components of a successful child sponsorship program. We'll delve into these solutions more deeply in the next part of our deep dive.
This is all so insightful. And before we move on, I'd love to get your take on the overall outlook for nonprofits as we look ahead to 2024 and beyond.
The projections paint a somewhat mixed picture with elements of both optimism and caution.
I'm curious to hear more about that.
While on the positive side, foundations are planning to increase their giving by an impressive 10.3% in 2024, with a potential 5.3% rise in 2025. This indicates that philanthropic support remains strong, which is encouraging news for the sector as a whole.
That is encouraging. And what about individual giving?
An impressive 78% of donors plan to give the same amount or even more in 2024. It's a testament to the generosity and commitment of individuals who believe in supporting the causes they care about.
That's fantastic news. But you mentioned elements of caution as well.
Yes, it's important to acknowledge the persistent challenges that nonprofits are facing. For instance, inflation continues to impact giving, with 47% of Americans reporting that it has affected their ability to donate.
That's a sobering reminder that economic realities can significantly influence philanthropic behavior.
Exactly. And we can't forget the 2022 donation dip, which serves as a cautionary tale about the potential for fluctuations in giving patterns.
So it seems like navigating this landscape requires a balanced approach.
Absolutely. Nonprofits need to adopt proactive fundraising strategies while simultaneously practicing prudent financial management. It's about being prepared for both opportunities and potential setbacks.
This is all so helpful. We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive, but one thing is crystal clear. The nonprofit landscape is evolving rapidly. What are your thoughts on how organizations can best position themselves for success in 2025 and beyond?
I believe that those who prioritize innovation, data-driven decision-making, and a genuine focus on donor relationships will be the ones who thrive in this new environment. We'll explore these concepts in more detail in the next part of our deep dive. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of nonprofits in 2025. In part one, we discussed the changing landscape and some of the key challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.
We also explored the growing role of technology data and personalization and how these elements can help create a more impactful and sustainable future for nonprofits. Now, I'm really eager to delve into some specific strategies that organizations can implement to thrive in this dynamic environment. Where do we begin?
Well, one of the things that really resonated with me from the source materials was the emphasis on storytelling, especially when it comes to demonstrating impact to donors. It's not enough to simply say, we're doing great work. We need to show donors in a very tangible way how their contributions are making a difference.
Right. Donors today are more discerning than ever. They want to see concrete evidence of the impact their contributions are making. How can nonprofits effectively communicate that impact in a way that truly resonates with donors?
The sources highlight data visualization as a powerful tool for bringing those stories to life. Instead of overwhelming donors with spreadsheets and statistics, we can present information in a more engaging and easily digestible way. Think infographics, interactive maps, even short videos that capture the essence of the impact being made.
So it's about taking those numbers and turning them into compelling narratives that connect with donors on an emotional level. I love that. And it seems like it ties in perfectly with the need for a more personalized approach to donor communication.
Absolutely. In the past, nonprofits might have relied heavily on direct mail or generic email blasts to reach their audience. But in today's digitally connected world, a multi-channel communication strategy is essential.
So it's about meeting donors where they're engaging them across a variety of platforms, social media, text messaging, personalized website content, and even targeted ads.
Exactly. Each channel has its own strengths and weaknesses. By using a mix of tactics, you can create a more holistic and effective communication strategy that resonates with donors' preferences.
It's also important to remember that communication is a two-way street, right? It's not just about blasting out information. It's about listening to donors and engaging in meaningful conversations.
Precisely. Social media, for example, is a fantastic platform for having those conversations with your supporters, getting feedback, and really understanding what matters most to them.
That active listening can be so valuable. It can help you tailor your messaging, refine your programs, and ultimately strengthen those all-important donor relationships.
Another crucial point that emerged from our deep dive is the need to cultivate a culture of philanthropy within the organization itself. It's not just about having a fundraising department. It's about embedding a philanthropic mindset into every aspect of the nonprofit's operations.
I'm curious, what does that look like in practice?
It means everyone from the CEO to the frontline staff understands the importance of philanthropy and how their role contributes to the organization's overall success. It's about creating a sense of shared ownership and responsibility for the mission.
So it's more than just asking for money. It's about fostering a deeper understanding of the organization's reliance on philanthropic support and how each individual's work plays a role in fulfilling the mission.
Exactly. This could be fostered through training, internal communication, and recognition programs that celebrate philanthropic engagement.
It sounds like collaboration is key here, breaking down silos, sharing knowledge, and working together towards a common goal.
Absolutely. And that collaborative spirit needs to extend beyond the walls of the organization as well. The materials emphasize the growing importance of partnerships.
Partnerships? You mean collaborations with other nonprofits or even businesses and government agencies?
Yes. By forming strategic alliances, nonprofits can tap into new funding sources, reach wider audiences, and amplify their impact. For example, partnering with a local business might provide access to volunteers' marketing expertise or even financial support.
I can see how those partnerships could be incredibly valuable. It's about leveraging the strengths of others and working together to create a greater collective impact.
Exactly. And speaking of leveraging strengths, I'd like to circle back to the topic of technology, which we touched on earlier. It's clear from the sources that technology is more than just a tool. It's a strategic partner for nonprofits.
I agree. The right technology can really empower nonprofits to streamline their operations, enhance their communication, and gather valuable data to inform decision making. But it can feel overwhelming, especially for smaller organizations with limited resources. How can nonprofits approach technology adoption strategically?
You hit the nail on the head. It's not about jumping on the latest trend or buying the shiniest new gadget. The first step is to clearly define your needs and goals. What challenges are you facing? What processes could be improved? What outcomes are you trying to achieve?
So it's about taking a step back and really thinking about how technology can best serve the organization's specific needs and goals, rather than just adopting technology for technology's sake.
Exactly. Once you have a clear understanding of your needs, you can start exploring technology solutions that align with your strategy and your budget. And it's important to remember that technology is constantly evolving, so a willingness to adapt and learn is essential.
It's a lot to take in, but I think you've presented some really valuable insights on how nonprofits can embrace technology in a way that's both strategic and impactful. So we've talked about storytelling, multi-channel communication, building a culture of philanthropy, the power of partnerships, and strategic use of technology. What are your final thoughts on what it takes for nonprofits to not just survive, but thrive in this new landscape?
To me, the overarching theme is the need for innovation, adaptability, and a willingness to challenge the status quo.
It's about being proactive, not reactive.
Done.
Anticipating challenges, seizing opportunities, and constantly striving to do better. But how can organizations actually cultivate that mindset of innovation and adaptability? Where do we even begin?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll explore more deeply in the final part of our deep dive.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the future of nonprofits. We've covered a lot of ground, from the evolving landscape and the challenges ahead to the incredible opportunities that technology and data are creating for organizations. But as we wrap up, I think it's crucial to bring it back to the most essential element of any nonprofit, the people.
You're absolutely right. Nonprofits are at their core people-powered organizations, and cultivating a culture of innovation and adaptability starts with investing in the individuals who make the mission possible.
I love that. So where do we begin? How can nonprofits create an environment where people feel empowered to innovate, adapt, and contribute their best work?
One of the key themes that emerged from our deep dive was the importance of professional development. The nonprofit sector is constantly evolving, and to stay ahead of the curve, organizations need to invest in ongoing learning and skill building for their staff.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not enough to simply recruit talented people. It's about providing them with the opportunities and resources they need to grow and thrive within the organization.
Precisely. Nonprofits need to offer their staff opportunities to develop their skills, stay current with industry trends, and acquire new knowledge that's relevant to their roles. This could include workshops, conferences, online courses, mentorship programs, or even cross-departmental training initiatives.
So it's about fostering a culture of continuous learning where curiosity is encouraged and professional growth is truly valued.
Exactly. And it's not just about technical skills, it's also about nurturing those essential soft skills that are so crucial in today's collaborative and fast-paced work environment. Communication, problem solving, critical thinking, adaptability. These are the skills that enable people to navigate complex challenges and build strong relationships both internally and externally.
I couldn't agree more. Those soft skills are often what differentiate good organizations from truly great ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about the crucial role of leadership in shaping a culture of innovation and adaptability.
Yes, leadership. The secret sauce that can either propel an organization forward or hold it back. What kind of leadership qualities are we talking about here? What does effective leadership look like in the context of this rapidly changing nonprofit landscape?
The materials highlighted several key leadership traits that are essential for success in this new environment. Vision, courage, empathy, and a willingness to embrace change were among the most prominent.
Those are powerful qualities. But how do those qualities translate into action? What does it look like to lead with vision, courage, empathy, and a willingness to embrace change?
Well, leaders who embody these qualities are able to articulate a compelling vision for the future, inspiring and motivating their teams to strive for something greater. They create an environment where risk-taking and experimentation are encouraged, recognizing that failure is often a necessary step on the path to innovation. And they lead with empathy, understanding the needs and perspectives of their staff, their donors, and the communities they serve.
It's about creating a culture where people feel safe to share their ideas, to try new things, and to learn from their mistakes.
Exactly. And it's not just about a top-down approach. Effective leadership in this new landscape is also about empowering individuals at all levels of the organization to contribute their ideas and take ownership of their work.
So it's about distributed leadership, giving everyone a voice and encouraging a sense of shared responsibility.
Precisely. That kind of inclusive leadership fosters creativity, collaboration, and a sense of ownership that can be incredibly powerful in driving innovation.
This is all so insightful. But as we talk about innovation, adaptability, and pushing boundaries, I think it's also important to acknowledge the potential for burnout, especially in the nonprofit sector where people are so deeply driven by their passion for the mission.
You bring up a crucial point. Nonprofit work can be incredibly demanding, both emotionally and physically. And if staff members are feeling burned out, stressed, or unsupported, it's going to be very difficult for them to be creative, innovative, or engaged in their work.
So how can organizations address this? How can they create a work environment that supports both individual well-being and organizational success?
The sources emphasize the importance of creating a supportive and healthy work environment where staff members feel valued and respected. This could include things like flexible work arrangements, opportunities for professional development, access to mental health resources, and a culture that promotes work-life balance.
It's about recognizing that people are the heart of any nonprofit and that investing in their well-being is essential for both individual and organizational success.
Couldn't agree more. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to emphasize that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to building a thriving nonprofit culture. Every organization is unique, and what works for one might not work for another.
So it's about finding what works best for your organization, your team, and your mission.
Exactly. The key is to be intentional, to reflect on your current culture, identify areas for improvement, and be open to experimenting with different approaches. Building a thriving culture is a journey, not a destination.
Well said. So let's recap the key takeaways from our deep dive for our amazing listener who's clearly committed to navigating the future of nonprofits. We've explored how the landscape is rapidly changing and how those who embrace innovation, adaptability, and a people-centric approach will be best positioned to thrive.
We've delved into the growing importance of technology, data storytelling, and multi-channel communication in engaging with donors and amplifying impact. And we've discussed the power of partnerships, the necessity of diversification, and the critical role of leadership in shaping a thriving organizational culture.
And most importantly, we've emphasized the value of investing in people through professional development, soft skills training, and a commitment to fostering a supportive and healthy work environment. Because at the end of the day, it's the people who make the mission possible.
Absolutely. As we conclude this deep dive, we encourage you to continue exploring the resources we've discussed and to engage in ongoing learning and reflection within your own organizations.
It's about staying curious, asking questions, and never stopping learning. The future of the nonprofit sector is bright, and we're excited to see what incredible things you accomplish.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.